It's been a while since I did a video on ergo split keyboards, and that's because I've been using my Totem almost exclusively for the past 2 years. I've grown really attached to it, perhaps overly so. I'm definitely far gone down the rabbit hole when it comes to split ergo keybs, and I would go deeper still, but I'm also very much interested in seeing what other keyboards are out there outside of the DIY space. And that's why today I'm covering the QWERTY Alice Duo. And I'll just go out and say it from the get-go, I think the Alice Duo is playing it too safe, at least for me. This won't be a standard keyboard build video, instead I will focus on ergonomics and my impressions on using the Alice Duo as my daily for about a month now. And also I'll just ramble about why I think split ergo keyboards deserve to break into a wider audience. Let's dive right in. So the Alice Duo, as the name suggests, is a split keyboard using the Alice layout. Unlike my Totem, this layout is pretty tame, but it is one that I haven't tried before. Its defining feature is its slight inward tilt, with the idea being that it makes it easier on the wrist when typing, and that's before even taking the split nature of this keyboard into account. We have a full number row, classic modifier keys, and pretty much any other key we'd find on something like a 60% or 65% keyboard, which by now is basically as mainstream as it gets. Yes, we have the split enter key and the, in my opinion, unnecessary mirrored B key, but other than that, there isn't anything exotic about the layout. Build quality on the Alice Duo is excellent, however, and it comes with all the features one would expect from a premium keyboard. A high-quality aluminum case with several beautiful finishes, gasket mounts, plate and case foam, and different switch plate materials to choose from. And I really need to stress the build quality here. It's stunning and pretty much flawless. Some of the detail work here, like the QWERTY badges, are absolutely great touches. The color I have here is the Sandgold, and it's simply beautiful, with one of the finest anodized finishes I've ever seen. It also comes with this super sturdy hinge that allows the keyboard to be used in a tented configuration. Optionally, you can order matching wrist rest, which adjusts to match the position of the tenting hinge. Coming from a DIY keyboard, it feels like I'm being genuinely spoiled and pampered with all these features. The Alice Duo also comes with a nifty dongle. And I like dongles. I've been using one on my Totem since forever, and lately I've upgraded to the Prospector dongle, which I have here 3D printed in transparent resin. It's really awesome. It has an LCD display showing the battery levels of each half, as well as the current active layer. In most ways, the Alice Duo Pod, which is what QWERTY calls their dongle, is similar. It of course functions as a hub for the two wireless halves, but it's more than that. We have a bunch of LEDs that indicate connection status and battery levels, and the customizable rotary encoder knob, which by default is used for system volume control. At first, I was worried that the LEDs on the pod would be blindingly bright at night, but fortunately they are adjustable through QWERTY's fork of the VIA configurator, and you can turn them way down if so desired. The dongle is also used as the charging station via magnetic cables featuring pogo pins, similar to Apple's MagSafe. It sounds great in theory, but I really would have preferred standard Type-C ports, as I found the cables somewhat cumbersome to use and honestly kind of bulky. Let me go over the build I have here. I went with the 1.6mm PCB, full plate and case foam, the aluminum switch plate, and these lovely linear switches from HMX called the Game 1989. They are perhaps the smoothest switches I've tried so far, surpassing my previous favorites, the Gateron Oil Kings. Oh, and they come in these oversized film canisters. How cool is that? For the keycaps, I'm using my inoffensive set of XDA Gentleman V2s, which pair nice enough with the Sandgold finish. Let me give you a quick sample of what the assembled keyboard sounds like. I think it sounds great, but the thing is though, I'm not really all that into mechanical keyboard sound signatures. With the risk of repeating myself, I've been using the Totem for the past 2 years, a low-profile keyboard using low-profile chalk switches, no case foam, no gaskets, no nothing, and I was fine with it. So any premium keyboard will sound and feel amazing to me, but trust me on this, there's more to mechanical keyboards than the sound. When I started using the Alice Duo, my first thought was that there are simply too many keys. And I know how that sounds, but do bear with me. When you use a split keyboard with only about 40 keys or so, each key positioned so that you never really have to move your fingers away from the home row, you start thinking with layers. That kind of limitation forces you to think about exactly how you'd want to customize your keyboard and truly make it your own. With the Alice Duo, because it's so similar to a normal keyboard, you're not really going to get your feet wet with what's really possible with split keyboards and keyboard firmwares nowadays. At most, you're gonna move a key here and there, maybe make use of a momentary layer to access some obscure key or macro, but that's about the extent of the customization you'll be doing. Take the number row for example. It's simply too cumbersome for me to use after getting used to the numpad-like layer on my totem. And I'm not even going to get into the madness that are home row modifiers, which I've also grown to love, or things like sticky layers or combo keys. There's an entire world of customization out there. Now, the totem is a bit extreme for someone looking for a gateway into the world of split keyboards, and while the Alice Duo is not radical enough for me, I do think it can work well as a stepping stone, and in my opinion, the transition is worth it no matter where you start. One thing any split keyboard will help with is developing better touch typing habits, not to mention the inherent ergonomic advantage of being able to position your hands and wrists with absolute freedom. Then there's also the tenting hinge that comes standard on the Alice Duo. It's an awesome feature to have and try. Personally, I prefer a flat keyboard, but there are lots of users who swear by tenting, often going to extreme angles with their palms practically ending up mirroring each other. I will say though that because the Alice Duo is essentially a 65% keyboard split in half, in terms of the space it takes on your desk, you're not really gaining any extra room. Compared to the Totem or even the Corn, it's absolutely massive. After a month of using the Alice Duo, I never really got used to typing on it fully. The layout itself is fine, there's nothing objectively wrong that I can say about it. It's not really the keyboard, it's me. I did have a blast building it though, and in many ways, the experience alone is sometimes worth the price of admission with these kinds of keyboards. There's no DIY jank to be had here. The documentation provided is another highlight. It's neatly structured on QWERTYKEY's Notion website, covering everything you need to know in order to build and configure the keyboard. I did run into some quirks and issues though that I have to mention. First, I could not get the RGB to light up on my right half at all, no matter what I tried, even after updating to the latest firmware. Now, to me this isn't a big deal, as I wouldn't use it anyway, but it is unfortunate. I will say though that the implementation is pretty tasteful as far as RGB goes, thanks to these subtle LED diffusers that sit exactly where the keys start tilting inwards on the Alice layout. It's pretty cool and I appreciate the subtlety here. The second issue I faced is a bit more of a letdown. The keyboard practically becomes unusable whenever I plug in the magnetic cables for charging. If I try to type on it, I get all kinds of weird inputs and repeated keystrokes. I suspect that this happens because the keyboard remains paired to the pod in wireless mode, even though it should automatically switch to wired mode, and I haven't found a reliable way to get it to do that. I was also getting quite poor battery life initially, lasting only about 2 days or so, but that's before I realized that the keyboard was running an 8K polling rate by default. After adjusting it down to 1K, battery life improved dramatically. These issues aside, the Alice Duo is an amazingly built keyboard. The finish, the build process, documentation, features, it's all there. And for getting one's feet wet with split keyboards, sure, I see it. But what I would like to see is manufacturers like QWERTYKEY take a leap of faith and put all their know-how into making a true ergo split keyboard. Something around 40 keys or so, with a proper set of thumb keys, maybe even a splayed layout if they're feeling particularly brave. And I am aware of the gamble here. The fear is that the mainstream user will reject a product that is too exotic, for lack of a better word. An argument I hear often, especially from coders, is that they need their special characters within easy reach and in familiar places. But I would argue that the Totem's standard key map handles that pretty well. The first row of keys on the symbol layer is practically a shift-modified num row, and the brackets, when in the nav layer, they are all intuitively placed on the inside column of each half, something that very much pleases my OCD brain. I even use the Totem for gaming with a special layer, and for those games where I need more keys, I trigger an additional sticky layer. Opening the inventory, quest log, or the map in an RPG, all those things are at the tip of my thumb. I don't even need to touch the right half of the Totem. But I could ramble about this for hours. I want to hear from you, the viewer of this video. Would you be interested in more exotic split ergo keyboard layouts, manufactured to the same level of quality as the Alice Duo, or should exotic split ergo keyboards be limited to DIY open source projects? For myself, more and more I realized that I simply cannot go back to what I now call full-sized keyboards, and I'm not even talking about 10 keyless keyboards or larger. Those are dinosaurs as far as I'm concerned. They belong in museums alongside typewriters. It's one of those things that is for sure hard to understand unless you've tried it for yourself, but keyboards with lots of keys feel overwhelming to me now. And counterintuitively, having less keys feels more freeing in a way. That's going to be it for this video. I hope I didn't ramble too much and that you enjoyed this one. And I promise that it won't be too long until I release another keyboard video. Bye for now.